Hi. In this video we're going to take a look at how to edit audio. To do this I'd recommend that you use a drum loop. Use the media bay to find a suitable loop. Click media, media bay, and then find a loop that's going to be appropriate. Double click to enter it into the project. The first thing we need to do is make sure that our loop is set to the same tempo as our project. Now we can do this one of two ways. We can either make the drum loop the same tempo as the project, or we can set the project to the tempo of the drum loop. In this instance we're going to match the project tempo to the loop. So first things first, we need to know how many beats and bars there are in this loop. So with the click off, I'm going to play and listen and count along. Okay, so there's exactly 2 bars worth of music there. So we can see here that the end of the event should finish at the end of bar 2 here. So by clicking on the tempo and increasing the tempo until the end of the event lands at the beginning of bar 3, we should now have set the project tempo to the tempo of the audio file. So let's have a listen with the click on. Okay, that seems to be looping nicely. Next we're going to have a look at all the different ways that you can edit an event. So if you select or hover over the event, you'll see that a few different handles become visible. Firstly, we're going to take a look at the event start and the event end handles. So these allow you to change the position of the event start and of the event end. Next we have the fade handles at the top left and right hand corners. So you can create a fade in and a fade out. The last one we need to look at is the volume handle, which is slap bang in the middle. And this allows you to control the volume of an event. Next I'm going to cut my audio loop into the different drum hits. So to do this, select the scissor tools, select a quantized level that's appropriate. I'm going to select 1/16 of a bar. Make sure snap is on, and I can now select 16th bar hits and cut the audio file up. As you can see, this can take quite a long time. An easier way to do this is to hover over the first 16th of an audio event, hold down Alt and then click, and the rest of that event will be cut into 16ths. Now I can go into each individual slice and mute different parts. So I'm going to mute some of these hi-hat parts and listen back. Now that I've started cutting up the loop, I can see that there are certain elements that I'd like to keep together, namely the snares. So I'm going to grab the glue tool and glue the snares and the next hi-hat hit together. In fact, we might do this for the kicks as well. Now what I can do is move each type of hit onto its own independent channel. Now you can see that I've separated the loop into its constituent parts: the kick drums, the snares, and the hi-hats. So I'll solo these one by one and you can hear how they sound. And the snares. And finally the hi-hats. And just all together. From listening to the hi-hats, I can hear that the sample isn't quite clean enough. So let's have a listen again. In a few instances there's a slight bit of clipping, and it's on this, and this event here. So I'm going to select each of those, scroll up to the fade out handle on one of those events and just drag it to the left. And now I'll listen back to that again. Okay, and that sounds a lot better. Next, we might want to soften the feel of those hi-hats because they're quite piercing at the moment. So we can do that by clicking on the Edit Channel button, clicking on an empty insert slot, going to Steinberg, Dynamics, and Envelope Shaper. From the preset menu, select Soft Hi-Hat and have a listen back. And turn it off. Okay, so that's taken some of the initial attack off of those hi-hats, so that should have softened them down quite a bit. So let's have a listen to that in context. Okay, cool. So next we might want to apply some offline processing to some of these parts. So firstly, if we duplicate the snare track and just get rid of some of these, I'm going to move the position of that snare just before this one. Then I'm going to highlight it, click Audio, Process, and Reverse. This has reversed the waveform in this sample. Next, I'm going to fade in the beginning a bit, and I'm also going to apply an EQ. In fact, I could normally do this through the Edit Channel setting, but on this occasion I'm going to do it through the offline processing. So if we now listen back to that. The benefits of using offline processing is that the computer's CPU won't have to work quite so hard. Let's have a look at some other offline processing that we can do. Firstly, select a group of hi-hats, select Audio, and then Bounce Selection, and Replace. We've now created a separate file just for this particular section. Now click Audio, Process, and pitch shift, and make sure the envelope tab is selected. Reset the envelope if you already have one drawn in. I'm going to move this point back to the start of the second hi-hat. The range is set to 12 semitones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the pitch of these hats by an octave. I'm going to click at the beginning of the last hit and move that point up to 12 semitones. Time correction is set, so the duration of those hits, or the timing of those hits, is still going to remain the same. I'm going to preview this. And try a few different codecs to see if they are any better. And let's have a listen to that. Now that has adjusted the timing of that part ever so slightly, so you might want to cut this again and just move things about.